Now, over the past couple weeks, we have seen a steady stream of witnesses confirm the whistleblower's account of a quid pro quo with Ukraine. Again, confirming the account. And there's very little pushback to any of the testimony apparently given by the president himself. And with that testimony, they find that the president is right in the middle of it. Now, before the break, Andrew spelled out all the ugly details. It seems like an open and shut case. And I wanted to get some experts to weigh in on this. Joining us now, three familiar faces: James Kousouros, criminal defense attorney in Manhattan, sitting on the board of directors at the New York City Criminal Bar Association. Jimmy also frequently lectures at New York Law School and the bar associations in Queens and New York City. Doug von Oiste, a founding partner of Carson & von Oiste, focusing on corporate misconduct, and was selected by the Legal 500 as one of the most influential trial lawyers in the country. And Mayo Bartlett, he's an attorney at the law offices of Mayo Bartlett PLLC and a former chief of the Bias Crimes Unit at the Westchester County DA's office. All three of these guys former prosecutors in their own right, and you've got two criminal defense attorneys and a litigator as well at the table. Okay, so I'm curious, Jimmy. You've had clients that you've had to give some tough love to and say, they got you dead to rights here, right? We'll talk about this later with the Varsity Blues, but in some ways, you know, with the amount and the mountain of evidence that they got, sometimes you say, we got to talk plea, okay?
Right.
We don't want this going to trial. If the president were any other guy, okay, isn't the evidence overwhelming that people put him at the scene, they've got motive for him, they've got facts, they've got corroboration? I mean, right?
Right. It's a much different, distinguishable situation because you got to think about the crimes, okay? Now here you probably are going to be able to make out obstruction. Believe it or not, you may have a case for bribery, which is actually in Article 2 and named as one of the impeachable high crimes and misdemeanors, but really this is more about an abuse of power by a president, and clearly indicting a president is a lot more difficult and politically difficult than indicting one of our clients who, yes, would be indicted in a snap. It's politics, Rich. There's so much that's going into this that...
And there was brilliance on the part of the founding fathers. They foresaw, actually, the threat of this very Ukrainian situation play out. But today, you have the argument from the attorney of the president who said, and I want to get this in 1 second, that, hey, even if he shot somebody in Fifth Avenue, you can't do anything because he's a sitting president. First of all, Mayo, that's Justice Department guidelines. That's not codified in the law, first of all. And second of all, it negates the idea that the founding fathers said, we're going to have a process here because we're not going to have a king. And we're going to have a remedy called impeachment. And we're going to identify the thresholds where we can reach. Jimmy hit on a couple big ones here. But one of the ones that they identified with the foresight in the late 1700s was foreign involvement in our elections. Let me bring that up if you could, guys, here. And I think most of the people may not recognize the faces, but they'll recognize the names. How about George Washington? Foreign influence, one of the most baneful foes of Republican government. John Adams, directly to Thomas Jefferson. You are apprehensive of foreign interference, intrigue, influence. So am I. But as often as elections happen, the danger of foreign influence recurs. And finally, Alexander Hamilton. No, not the play. The most deadly adversaries of our government are chiefly from the desire in foreign powers to gain an improper ascendant in our councils. They were worried about France and England at the time, but clearly they saw that the power of the presidency and the executive branch could be either corrupted or seek corruption for a foreign country. And they envisioned that there's a co-equal branch in the legislative branch for Congress to do something about it if this happened. This is not some MSNBC conspiracy theorist here. They've confirmed this thing happened. Now it's up to Congress to decide if they've got the political will. But certainly the grounds to do it are there in black and white. This is not shades of gray, right?
Anybody who loves the United States, doesn't matter what your political persuasion is, has to be concerned about this. And you have to be concerned no matter who the president is. Lindsey Graham said the other day that if Barack Obama had engaged in the similar conduct in terms of Syria, that he would have excoriated him, and then, to his credit, stated the same things against the policy as applied by Trump. But when you stop and look at the fact that we're suggesting that a person based on their title is above the law, essentially you're saying we have a monarch. But also, one of the things that I haven't really heard discussed yet is when you start talking about looking into the server of a Secretary of State, you're starting to get close to espionage yourself when you are inviting foreign countries to look into government officials' affairs and their personal documents, which you believe have governmental documents there. What else can it actually be?
And again, this was done on live TV, okay? He said, hey, China, by the way, I'll take your help too here. He was asked, would you get, even though the law prohibits it, would you allow a foreign government to give you dirt on an opponent? Yeah, I would. Why not? Then his chief of staff confirms there was a quid pro quo. I know you're on the fence on this, Doug. What more would it take to show that there is a clear abuse of power by the president and that he intended to enlist a foreign government to influence our elections?
I think that you're acting like this is such a slam dunk when it's not a slam dunk at all. I think about when we talked about the McDonald case, the governor of Virginia, where we went back and forth where his conviction was overturned. What is a bribe? And it ends up being that a bribe has to be somebody basically handing you a sack of money. Nothing's clear here. If you're asking,
but isn't it clear here?
Listen, it's clear that he was asking.
McDonald.
It's clear that he was asking people to do things. He wanted a result. That's clear here. But nothing is clear. If you ask a foreign country, hey, if criminality happened in your country, we want to know about it.
Except there's one difference. I got here $400 million. I know you've been appropriated by Congress. Our tax dollars, to go to you to protect you, an ally from a foreign adversary right over your border in Russia. You ain't getting this until I get dirt, even though you investigated and found nothing on my political opponent. What do we need? Do we need
testimony? Listen, the testimony from a couple of days ago, because I agree with you. Yeah. Up until that point, he just talks. But at that point, when it is confirmed, pretty in no uncertain terms, that it was a condition of releasing that money, and
Can I
really
ask you a question real quickly?
Yeah.
If somebody said, hey, Saudi Arabia, you're not getting any more money until you turn over the tapes and what happened in your embassy to that journalist Khashoggi. If he would have said that, and he was on TV saying that, would everybody be going crazy right now?
Because put it this way, the president.
What's the difference?
The president.
The difference is he's asking for dirt on a political opponent in an upcoming election.
The motive. He said to Latin American countries, I'm not going to give you funding, whether I disagree with it or not, until you change your immigration policies. In effect, I don't have to like it, but he can do that. That's foreign policy. This was for the explicit purpose only of getting dirt on a political opponent. Okay, and trust me, it's not Tulsi Gabbard he's getting it on. He was getting it on his mind. They're yelling at me. I'm sorry. All right, when we come back,
they're not allowed to yell at you.
Yeah, but they are. We're going to tell you about a tale of two actresses: Felicity Huffman, 14-day prison sentence, winding down. Lori Loughlin, not so much. She is in the fight to keep out of the big house for a while here over charges in that college admission scandal. We'll be right back.